Yeah, that's okay. The September 20 meeting of the Round Lake Village Board of Sessions. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think that we put a public hearing on the email that went out. We had a public hearing last time, but we will open with public comments, which essentially serves the same purpose. So, public comment?
Is this on short-term rentals?
Anyone?
Yes, is this on the topic of short-term rentals?
No, this is on anything.
Anything you want to talk about short-term rentals that you're going to vote on it?
Okay, identify please.
Sure, my name is Frank Tedesco, I'm at 45 Odelia Lane. I followed this issue in the beginning when the zoning board had a meeting here, and people spoke to the zoning board on some of the issues that they encountered at the insight of short-term rentals within our community. And it was like a horror show to hear what these people had experienced in terms of loss of privacy, invasiveness, dogs running wild. I talked to the zoning board chairman, and I asked, okay, you told me this is a relatively new law in the town. I said, how does someone get that feedback so that that law could be changed? And he said, only the board can change that law. And I said, well, how do they learn about this? And he said, well, they have to request some information on it. All right, so there's that information. What I have found in following the meetings of this board on this topic, one, no one has asked that zoning board chairman to speak at a meeting of this board on this topic. Secondly, the mayor did an exhaustive, I believe, well, maybe not exhaustive, but a pretty thorough research on this topic, including a poll of Victorian Ladies homeowners, which came back clearly opposed to this. And also the town attorney spoke up in the same document that the mayor did on this particular topic. Never in the course of your deliberations on this topic have I heard any discussion of what the mayor wrote to you and to all of us on this topic. And I don't understand that, frankly. I don't understand how you can come to a decision and not listen to the zoning board chairman, your mayor, your town attorney. I feel that there's a lack of representation here, clearly. I have written to this board, as you all know, at least 4 times on this topic, and gave you tons of information in the most dispassionate way I could. And now I'm not dispassionate. I'm really angry, to tell you the truth, that you're just ignoring this information and voting on whoever you're connected with. That's the way it appears to me. So that's my take. If you pass this, I'll tell you, I'm not going to let it lie. If I have to go to newspapers or other kinds of media to investigate this, I'll do it. Thank you.
Next.
Sure.
Okay. I'm not speaking on the same topic. It's come to my attention that we are going to get fiber optic in the village.
Yeah.
Okay? We have Slick in here right now, and I love that name. You'll know why after I pass out the information. Have you talked to Green Light?
Yes.
And they don't want to come in here?
They're just slow.
They're what?
They're slow. They're doing the denser.
Are they coming in here?
I believe so.
That's their intent, yes.
They just finishing up Malta and Clifton Park first.
Just to go along with
Asking
this,
is,
I spoke with you about that. They've been dealing with us, Greenlight has, and I was talking to the mayor. Ever since that other company started doing stuff down here, Greenlight has disappeared. So I don't know if they still.
Well, that's what I'm figuring. The green light has disappeared because
So they were gonna use the station as their base.
Flickers come in. If anybody wants one of
Dixie,
these.
can I preempt you for a second?
Yes,
I brought this up, the differential in the prices.
yeah.
I brought this up to Kevin Lynch, who's the chief operator, the president, I guess, of Slick. And he said, these are the prices for the North Country. Those are not, the North Country prices are more expensive because in the old forge and things like that, it costs a lot more to run the fiber because the density is so much less. These are not the prices that would be here.
You think he could give you the courtesy of getting us prices?
I will ask him, he's been
I
extremely,
mean, come on. The
extremely.
prices are so different,
They are.
and they're so ridiculous.
Paul Block brought that up to me, and
They're so ridiculous, the difference in prices, and the difference in what you're getting.
yeah, Paul brought that up to me, and I took two screenshots with
And I think
the
that we
different
should do
prices.
something in this village, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that this village, the residents need to be notified as to the difference in these prices. It's going ahead and doing everything. And what's gonna happen, from what I understand, is that once they get in here, green light probably won't come in because somebody else is already here.
Where do you get that?
I got that through the grapevine.
The great.
Yes. A very good source, a very good source.
I
Then
know.
let's go that much further. I mean, they've been here since last fall, right?
Yes.
And
And I think-
nothing has been said, the people, the residents have been notified, I didn't know that until they come down my street.
I sent out emails.
About Slick or about Green Light?
Both.
Were you referring to Slick or to Green Light? Dixie?
I'm referring to both, I think that, Flick is in the village.
Right. I think Green Light is
is up
the,
in Malta, but they were gonna come down here.
correct. As far as I understand it, the village is part of the whatever, Malta Zone 1 or whatever they call it. And in my communications with them, they have not said, we're not, but what I will do is follow up with them to get some
Would you do
clarification.
that?
Absolutely.
You did a great job with the streetlights, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna depend on you.
You can depend on me. I will follow up, yeah. I'm kind of the point person.
Let me follow up on the street light.
Yes.
The big thing that has to be done before fiber comes in is called the make-ready work, and that means they have to replace most of the telephone poles. So NICE has been replacing, yeah. And after they're done with that, then Slick went in and put some quarter-inch steel cable that you'll see running with nothing on it, and that's the hang fiber. That's relatively easy, just putting that, the big heavy work is already being done, it's the replacing the poles. And I specifically asked Kevin Lynch, who's the Slick St. Lawrence something property, about green. He said, well, yes, they can use the poles, they just have to find a 1-foot space to put their wires. And putting the wires up is easy compared to replacing the poles.
I would check it, I would make sure that somebody checked the green light to make sure that they, because I was told that very possibly if Flick was already in here, that they may.
Again, unless you're gonna tell me who told you that, and I can get credence.
Well, because multiple parties have said that communication with Green Light has basically ceased to exist.
Well,
And if you look back at the October meeting, the presenter flat out said, if we don't go where other fiber companies are, we go to give fiber opportunities to people that don't have those opportunities.
She did say that, that's correct, but I do know with what happened, like, for instance, with Clifton Park, is they started going into Clifton Park, and I think it was Verizon Fios went after, so I think they identify communities that are not currently served by fiber to develop in. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll pull out if another company comes in, you see what I'm saying? But I will absolutely follow up with them to see what their status is on it. I last heard from them, I think it was like the end of August, and as far as I can see, everything is still full steam ahead, but I will absolutely follow up.
Well, I checked
No
with
worries.
Malta,
Yes.
and, with the Malta part.
Yeah.
They already
Okay.
spoke with them.
Okay, all right.
I think Malta, most of their installations would be underground too.
They're working in Luther Forest, it's all underground.
And that's a lot more
They like
difficult than
gas.
just stringing it between telephones. That's not very difficult.
Well, that's why I think the village, yeah, Park is one of their first identified areas for the town, so.
Matt, if you have a contact with them,
I have a couple that,
they stopped talking to us.
Okay.
Our president has emailed, called them
Okay,
for probably 2 months now, and they haven't returned anything.
okay,
And then when Gary brought this up, that's why we figured, okay, they were hell bent on getting in our firehouse by the end of summer.
yeah,
And now they won't even return phone calls. So if
Okay.
you have a contact,
yeah,
you can get somewhere with them.
yeah, absolutely, yep.
Our people haven't been able to.
I wasn't aware of that, so I will,
You
yeah.
know, they had a contract, we sent it off to the lawyer wanted a couple changes made. Once we questioned them, and then all of a sudden Gary put the stuff out about this other company,
Yeah.
they stopped returning phone calls or emails.
Okay,
So,
all right,
And then keep me informed.
absolutely, yep,
There is another option that Matt and a few other people have, Verizon Wireless.
yeah.
Is a good option in the village.
Depending on the price. I mean,
Uh,
if you look at this, it just isn't any comparison.
So, yeah, not to promote any, but if you have Verizon currently, you're a Verizon cell phone customer, the village is served by what's called their 5G home internet plan. And if you're a current customer of Verizon, it's only $25 a month, and I've had it for 6 months now, it's excellent. So,
And it's easy, five times faster than my,
it's 300 megabits, it's really fast, it's faster than Spectrum.
it's 5 times.
It's not as fast as Greenlight, which is fiber, but it's 300. So.
You don't get interference when there's a lot of telephones on.
I've had no issue, and so I don't know if you guys noticed, like, a couple weeks ago, like, the cell tower went down temporarily. I don't know if you guys lost your cell phone signal. So when that happened, I obviously lost my internet signal. But other than that, it's been extremely consistent. And I've had it since April. It's very high speed, and I thought it would kind of go up and down, and it's $25 a month. So if you have Verizon, if you don't have Verizon, it's more expensive.
It is Slick and Greenlight separate companies?
Yes.
We have an agreement with Greenlight.
Well,
No.
not really. We have two agreements with Greenlight.
Right.
One allowed them to work on poles.
Right.
We signed it, they signed it.
Yeah.
We worked out another contract, which was an operating agreement.
Right.
They have not signed that and returned that to us despite several efforts to get that.
Okay. So how did Slick come into the village without this board hearing about it or signing off on it?
The agreement with Greenlight is not an exclusive agreement.
Okay.
So it's 87 different companies want to come in and basically co-locate on poles and compete for service. We would love to have that.
But we had an agreement with Greenlight. We don't have.
Presentation.
We had a presentation.
Well, that's the difference.
We signed.
The agreement with Greenlight was for them to provide us, the village and the firehouse and the couple other, the auditorium with internet services. They never signed that because we were going to house the equipment.
Right, I understand that.
But I think what Tom's saying is we gave them permission to
We
work.
gave them permission to do it.
Which is
We
suicide.
never gave Slick permission to do anything.
I'm
Exactly.
not sure we had to give.
Somebody has to give them permission to come in here and do the work.
Somebody
Really?
else holds, we don't.
We don't.
So,
We basically allowed them to work within village right of way. That's the agreement.
Well,
The operating agreement has never been signed.
I get that, I get that.
But we didn't provide any
We didn't,
authorization.
there was no input from this board, and I have no interest either. Don't even know, I didn't even know until we got an email that says all these poles that have been working on are Slick poles. And I'm saying like, oh, that's the first I heard of it, when 3/4 of the work was done?
And we had not heard of it either until about 2 weeks.
My assumption was that they were working freely.
That's what I thought too.
And then I asked Melody Putman and Nigel contact. She said, oh, all the work being done is ready work for the fiber.
Do we have to do anything? I mean,
We once asked for a similar agreement by Slick that we gave to Greenlight.
so if Slick ends up, if Greenlight backs out, which I doubt from what everyone's saying, does Slick have the right to bring in their own cable?
I would think
They
we already have.
They're doing it,
They've got all the pre-work done. The poles are replaced, most,
So whose cable is it?
80%. Pardon?
Whose cable is it? green lights or splits?
They would each have their own fire line.
But if Green Light wants to come in, all they have to do is take the poles that are already down and string those metal
Yeah,
wires, which is the easy part. All you need is a lift truck and a hammer.
I just don't know why this suddenly, the board was never consulted, and it suddenly happened. When we had an agreement that we had to approve with green light, we had a presentation. And again, all of a
I'm
sudden,
not sure we really had to make an agreement with Green Light. I don't think it was necessary. I don't know if it's
I think what you're saying is it would have been nicer split.
It would have been nice.
Oh,
Like Green Light.
nicer to tell us to swap out poles. We didn't know about that either.
Tom, is your agreement for them to house their equipment here?
Green light.
They never signed that agreement.
Well, was that what the agreement was for?
Yes, correct.
I'm assuming then they didn't like that you wanted them to sign something, and that's when they came to us.
Yes.
To house the stuff at our place.
Yeah.
And then we did the same thing, we questioned their agreement, and that's when we have not heard back from them since.
We were told at one point that they did not require the certain space in the village, and that they were going to be able, because they have space in Malta, and they were
They
going to be
told
able.
us they could go 2 miles
Right,
from their base, all right?
Right.
When they talked to us, it was gonna be the village,
right,
and then 2 miles that way.
right,
So it would have been part of Country Knolls, Avondale,
yeah,
that area up there.
yeah,
But then we did the same thing that you guys did, we had an agreement
yeah,
that they needed to sign,
yeah.
because of certain things, and probably the same thing he had. And that's when they walked away and we had not heard from them.
Well, I'll chase them down.
So see what you can come up with,
Yeah,
that would be great.
absolutely. Yep.
So just enlighten me. So in theory, you could have Slick providing service, Green Light providing service, Verizon providing service,
Spectrum.
and Spectrum providing service.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
Which, and I guess, competition's a good thing.
And T-Mobile actually too.
T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Mayor, the gentleman mentioned that he talked with, Slick. Just out of curiosity, did he approach me on the Village Rise about the generator? Did he talk to you about that?
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were aware of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Because I'm director of the office.
So far,
Yes.
So you met with Swift then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Before you here? You
Yeah.
didn't meet with Green?
Oh, yeah, they came, they were running.
Green Light did a great job presenting the whole presentation here. They were very informative throughout the process. I will say that in the last month or so, they've been a little bit less communicative, so we'll figure out what's going on.
They're still working at Luke Forest,
Yeah,
so, yeah, so we're out there
yeah.
once a week or so.
And if you find out from them, when, let's say they say they're not going to be coming in due to this, maybe then counter them and ask what,
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
the possibility there is what they need to know to possibly change their mind.
Might get, and again, I'm speculating here, but to Gary's point, hanging wires is really low cost for them, so even if there was a competitor, the fact that they're a lot less expensive, provide a better service, and it would be fairly inexpensive to hang a wire at a shop that they're pulling out to a competitor coming in, but I would definitely chase it down.
Yeah, because that was my only worry, because like I said,
It's not like a game, you know?
multiple parties that kind of communication or almost did not exist. Right. And the fact that during that presentation, they mentioned about not coming to work with other services.
Right.
And you mentioned it with Clark, but you said Verizon came in after.
Yeah, it's the after thing, yeah.
So that's why
Yeah,
it's
this is
kind
like the same time. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, yeah, absolutely.
That was just where the worry for
Yeah.
that was.
My big problem has been figuring out who at the company does what, because I have like 3 contacts, so I'll chase it down.
And then again, you see the prices, we didn't know that it was, that's the only prices on there. So it was kind of just completely,
That was brought to my attention forcefully about a month ago.
it was like double the price of the 200 that it was for the 500 for Green Light. So,
You may have noticed that we have a lot of double poles in the village now with the tall one and the short one with an X on it. Very curious, the last one off the pole has to remove the pole. So I'm not looking forward to the problem being rectified anytime soon. So, I'll talk to Gary Warner to see if anything could be done about that to speed things up. Hey, anyone else? Okay. Reports, superintendent.
Yes, going under the water, I mentioned this evening, the 6-inch Honeywell meter going to Victoria Landings has stopped working. I had Ted Marks come in to take a look at it, there was nothing he could do. He gave me the name of another gentleman, John Lappuccino. So he should be coming in hopefully tomorrow or Friday, take a look at it. It's a mag meter, hopefully it's diodes, I believe, which can be changed. If not, we're gonna be looking to change that meter, so probably gonna be a few grand, just to let you know that. And then there's another issue out there, which is on the blower, on the top of the water tank, keeps sending me messages, it keeps failing, tripping, basically, so I was on the phone. We changed the timer on for the relay every time it rains. So before we had them come take a look at it, was attempting to go up there to take a look at the filter and stuff, and just check out, see what I can see. I ran some tests on the control unit on the bottom, and everything tested good. But the issue is there's large hornet's nest up there, so we're waiting for a cold in the morning and for the filter part, because there is a chance the bees are in the filter. So, nothing to worry about as far as water or anything, it's not in the tank, it's on the filter. If that's even what it is, I don't know, because I can't get up there, but there is an issue, so when we get to that point, it's a little bit colder, we'll address that, I'll go back up there and see what we find. So, besides that, you know, on the roads and drains, we paved all the areas that we fixed and replaced culverts and we fill up the water line. Besides that, guys, been weed whacking, working on the equipment now, getting ready for winter. We're welding some parts on the 2000 International, there's some holes in the bottom, stuff in this area. Taking a part off the other one on the 9, it's rusted, we're not going to replace it, we're not going to have a truck. Update on the new truck, International, that we ordered last year, it wasn't, that'll be in, now it's pushed back to March of 2024, or 2024. So we won't have it for this winter. The wood chipper may be getting delivered tomorrow or Friday, which is good news if anybody's seen that wood pile back there. It's quite large. So that's really about it. Just going over the routine things.
It's ancient history now, John, but where did we get, what did we get with the bolts and valves? You know, we were replacing
That's complete.
that's all done.
Yes. I mean, there's always a chance we miss one because you can't see them unless we
Right.
get them. But we went around and
It's got a very high-tech method of,
that's actually the standard now. We actually, our engineer come down and seen how we replaced them, how we checked them out. Ferguson came down, EJP came down, because it, like I mentioned when we first identified that we had an issue that it's worldwide, every company at that time frame. So they changed the standard.
thank you.
Treasurer. The accounting for CHS is confirming our monthly reconciliations, which must be finished before our annual financial report is due on September 29th. Once that is done and our EFR is submitted, then those will be followed up with all our financial work from last fiscal year, and all of our major reportings today, which would be great news. And then a monthly reconciliation for the current budget year will begin. tax levy income from Saratoga County was erroneously classified as sales tax. So I'm requesting a resolution to correct that by moving funds from the tax levy revenue code. I'd like to increase the interest penalty real estate property tax to 1090 code by $25,850.32 and decrease the non-property tax distribution to county code 1120 by $25,850.32.
Motion. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Yes.
Yes.
There are multiple codes that municipality can use to pay CPAs. Jane Woodward was paid under code G198911. Payments to our new CPAs, CHS, were funded under G1320.4. Payment has already been distributed under the old code. And so I requested a resolution to move the payments to the correct non-governmental code. We'd like to increase other government support to personal service auditor, G198911, by $290.87. Decrease auditor net contractual, G1320.4, by the same amount.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Yeah, I'm just curious, what was the change? Did Jane have a unique code, or was she paid
Well, she was our own CPA, so that's where we would pay it from. It wasn't a unique code to us as a municipality. It's just that depending on how you look at all the codes that are available for different municipalities, they're all used a little different depending on the situation. And the one we funded this last fiscal year is not the one that we then have to be using.
Oh.
So when I go to pay something, I look at how it was done in the past,
Yeah.
and that's how the arrow to me.
Right. Thank you. Tom? Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
We're also, the office staff is switching from billing our time to sort code G198912 to G811013. So I'm requesting a resolution to transfer funds to zero out the previously used account. And this is for the exact same reasons, primarily just a consistency issue. So I'd like to increase other government support in the personal services office to G198912 by $3,688.90. Decrease sewer administration office staff G8110.13 by the same amount.
So moved. Second. Discussion. Yes.
Yes.
There is one small error on the treasurer's report that I want to point out. The very last line says the total for the July abstract is $69,000, etc. And of course, that should be the total for the September abstract.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chief.
Okay, take it quick. As you know, we've been busy here all the time. 53 calls last month. We're up about 10% this year over last year. Couple of things coming up. We've been working with the two towns for our contracts, our budgets for next year. So we've met with both of them, giving them our preliminary numbers. Wait to see what they do with their budgets. Halloween, are you doing Halloween in the auditorium and all that stuff like last year? So we know, Brian, so we can arrange a lot of trucks like we did in the past out in front of the village office. Do that. Okay.
Okay. Peter, code enforcement?
All the projects are moving along, and there's a little hole on the mill expansion with DEC and the Department of Health. But I expect that to continue, but they'll get back on track. That's it.
Hey, parking, animal control.
Nothing to report in the village about parking. The boat launch Friday and Saturday, yeah, it was really weak. It's a little wide. Stick around down there. Sure.
No more vandalism on there?
The people are pushing my side to a rest out and I can sit and let them up. They don't like the fact that there's no parking sign on the circle. Animal control, all I get is calls around Lake Beach, Illinois.
You don't get liable if you go there.
Call them around, Illinois.
It makes you feel like on this little Facebook thing, the roof next to it.
Auditorium number operator.
August was actually a very exciting month at the auditorium. We met Hutton Rowan, who is a professor from Skidmore College, who did a program on Jane Austen. Also, Keith Walter, who many of you know, is a great artist and gave us a mesmerizing experience by creating a beautiful work of art before our eyes here in the auditorium. This lecture series was off to a good start. It was all about rambling. One thing that we have been finding is that the sound in the auditorium needs some attention. Dan Pesca will discuss this at the October board meeting. Otherwise, all our guest speakers were knowledgeable and loved being at the auditorium. We used the pit area in a different way this year, and it was successful and created a more intimate feeling. We did a bars event, which was appreciated by many. I'd like to thank David Strait and his sister, Sarah, for providing the coffee house vibe with their music. We had a jazz piano trio, which was a great find, and they provided an excellent set. Then we had Roxy and the Rollers, with the lighting provided a dance band atmosphere. We had pizza from the new place up the hill, Ciambella, and they were down here 3 times during the bar event. They were very good to work with, just so everyone knows. Craig Williams came back, he's the organist, and he probably was the star of the month. The Oregon Media Foundation completed a YouTube video that is now on our Round Lake Auditorium website, and it gives you an amazing amount of information about that organ in a very friendly, nice way. Everybody should watch it. We had 91 people show up for Craig Williams' organ concert. And we had 1 rental of the auditorium this month. And all in all, the month of August 2023, the village netted a plus of $1,336.19, which also included the audience token mic. I would really like to thank the village crew and the people who have been cleaning the auditorium all season. With everyone's attention to the building, it too can be and stay presentable. I suggest that in the future, one of the dressing rooms be on the schedule for a revamp. And that's all I have for this month, and we'll get the full report next month for the entire season. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Hello, we don't have a whole lot of report. We're working on our calendars for this year. And we plan to include all of our accomplishments so you can see what we've been spending on fundraising money on. We are planning an application to Global Founders for some objects and help with the auditorium if anyone has any ideas. We are definitely going to be requesting new funds for a new DVD player because apparently Dan Pescas has been on loan over there for 9 years. But if you have any projects or ideas that you'd like us to make an application for, let me know. The deadline for that is the end of October. Not really AP3 business, although it is in a way. The organ bench has gotten a lot of use this year, and all the organists really loved it. Tom Dressler was here this past weekend, and he thinks that organ bench is making it way better. So that's good. We're going to do a dedication. We are hoping to do that this past weekend, but it's now probably going to happen in the spring. That's all.
I have
giving you a resolution request. We've went into executive sessions a couple of times since when I first started taking minutes, and we go into the session not realizing or knowing that we needed to discuss the personal matters with people and that they were private, but I didn't realize that the actions needed to be recorded. So I did record the inclusion of the new fire members to the fire department. And would like to ask you to do a resolution to allow me to add that to the minutes.
So, I'll read it. During previous village board meetings, the board met in executive session for the purpose of matters leading to the appointment and compensation for particular persons during village board meetings of February, March, April, and June to evaluate potential levels of firefighters. Be it resolved that the Round Lake Board of Trustees ratify and documents its acceptance of the following new members to the fire department in January and June 2023. February 2023, Hunter Coombs, Marcus Lamont Martin, David Strait. March 2023, Jake Ingram. April 2023, Donna Gizzi. June 2023, David Bolt. That's it.
No, I second.
Discussion? Yes. Heidi?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Committee. Discussion and vote on short-term rental amendment. We have two amendments.
Yeah, we're gonna get a copy, I asked that last time, we're gonna get a copy of the final, short-term rental law because we've been through so many, yes. So, can we get a copy of it?
It's not there.
Is this what, maybe 5 copies?
Well, one shall
This and this are resolutions, one to amend a definition of short-term rental, and the other to adopt the short-term rental P&D law. The law that we're voting on is the one that was circulated prior to the public hearing that was held last month.
So this is the final, this is the final
That's
copy.
going to the Department of State inspection.
Okay. And this is,
One is the this is the definition.
okay, and this is the local law.
Yep.
Okay.
Please. First one simply amends the definition of short-term rental.
I need to read that to the board.
You're reading the right one?
Let's put one.
Okay.
Whereas the village board of, the village of Round Lake, as the board proposed to amend 180.27.1 of the code of the village of Round Lake to amend chapter 180 zoning, with respect to the regulation and operation of bed and breakfast and short-term rentals. Yes?
Can we do the code, the definition first? Yes, both of them.
I can get this in the definition. All right. What is it? This is the one.
I think there's one.
Okay, yeah, we don't have the definition page over here. Oh, this is, here. That's the same copy as what I did.
These are, that's,
Whereas the village board of the village of Round Lake, the board.
Could you speak up, please?
Okay. Whereas the village Board of the Village of Round Lake, the board, proposes to amend 180.3 of the Code of the Village of Round Lake to amend Chapter 180 zoning with respect to the definition of short-term rental, the proposed amendment. And whereas the board has previously designated itself lead agency for purpose of administration of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and has not received objection to that status within 30 days from such designation. And whereas a board has prepared a short environmental assessment form, and whereas the board duly and timely scheduled a public hearing on the proposed amendment, which was held on the 16th day of August, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. at the Village Hall of the Village of Round Lake, 49 Burlington Ave, Round Lake, New York 12151. At which time and place all persons desiring to be heard thereon were heard. And notice of said public hearing was published in the Daily Gazette. And whereas such notice of public hearing was provided to the County Planning Board, towns of Malta and Clifton Park, the Saratoga County Highway Department, and the New York State Transportation Department, together with a full copy of the proposed amendments and short environmental assessment form. And the County Planning Board's approval dated the 18th day of August, 2023, has been received and reviewed by the board. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the board finds that the proposed amendment will not have a negative environmental impact and issues a negative declaration, and it is further resolved that the board adopts the proposal amendment and enacts the same as a local law. And it is lastly resolved that the village clerk of the Village of Round Lake be and is hereby directed to file said local law with the New York State Department of State.
Second.
Discussion? So this just changes the definition of.
No, that's the next one. What you just read adopts the local law. And it doesn't matter which one is done first.
With respect to the definition of short-term rental.
That's the next one.
I'm reading that, amending the definition of short-term rental. I just want to make sure we're voting on the correct one.
So the only difference between these two, the first paragraph?
Yes.
Okay. So Gary just read the one about the definition.
Okay. We can vote on that.
And I seconded it.
And this one just.
That is the law for it.
So this only defines short-term rental as a dwelling unit of furnished rooms that is rented to a tenant for a period of less than 30 consecutive nights. Correct? That's what we're voting on. So that we all know that. Okay. All right. Discussion? Yeah?
Yes.
Right? Yeah?
Yes.
Me? Yes.
Next.
Okay, next is the local law. Right?
Yes.
So we need to read the whole thing again?
Yeah, probably should.
Whereas the village board of the Village of Round Lake Board proposed to amend 180.27.1 of the code of the Village of Round Lake to amend Chapter 180 zoning with respect to the regulation and operation of bed and breakfasts and short-term rentals. So there's the proposed amendment, and whereas the board had previously designated itself lead agency for purpose of administration of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and has not received objection to that status within 30 days of such designation. And whereas the board has prepared a short-term environmental assessment form, and whereas the board duly and timely scheduled a public hearing on the proposed amendment, which was held on the 16th day of August 2023 at 6:30 p.m. at the Village Hall of the Village of Round Lake, 49 Burlington Ave, Round Lake, New York 12151, at which time and place all persons desiring to be heard thereon were heard, and notice of such public hearing was published in the Daily Gazette. And whereas such notice of public hearing was provided to the County Planning Board, the towns of Malta and Clifton Park, the Saratoga County Highway Department, and the New York State Transportation Department, together with a full copy of the proposed amendment and SEAF, and the county planning board's approval dated 18th day of August 2023 and have been received and reviewed by the board. Now therefore it is resolved that the board finds the proposed amendment will not have a negative environmental impact and issues a negative declaration. And it is further resolved that the board adopts the proposed amendment and enacts the same as the local law. And it is lastly resolved that the village clerk of the village of Grand Lake be and she hereby is directed to file said local law with the New York State Department of State forthwith.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, I think that there has been some confusion about this law, which was carefully crafted several years ago with the assistance of the town attorney, Ken Dan Shapiro. We had the law in place for several years. We were tweaking primarily, it was revisited and we went to a subcommittee because the fee structure was problematic. The subcommittee then, and you can speak for this, found a few other things, definitions that would be changed, and there was the suggestion instead of owners having to live there for 6 months, that it be extended to 9 months, thereby restricting it a little bit more. It is a law that covers the entire village. And we have been working with it for several years without any other suggestion that we change the law. There has been a lot of discord over the law up at Victorian Landings. It is clear to the board that there's a homeowners association that can also address this. We have a law in the village that covers everyone. If the people in Victorian Landings would like a more stringent restriction, they are more than welcome to do so. This is covering what we see as the best that suits the entire village. It has been considered carefully, it's been discussed many times, we have heard everyone, and that is why we said it. I am in league personally with no one. This is a law for the entire village, and that's why we were doing it. And from what I understand, the homeowners association may be taking it up again.
I'll just further add that we took a long time going back and forth on it, that when you are deciding on these laws that affect the entire village, you have to take the entire village population into account. You have to balance the rights of homeowners, both in terms of what they do with their private residence and also the homeowners around them. We feel that this addressed that adequately, and you're never going to make something that's perfect for everybody, but I think this law finally balances those two competing factors. And again, I agree with Heidi 100% that should the Victorian Landing HOA find or choose to make a more stricter version of this law, that they can do so. And unfortunately, that didn't happen in their prior vote, but they're free to do so again.
I'd just like to kind of echo the feelings of Matt and David. I guess, but I'll be honest with you. They always said in school that the best form of government was like a benevolent despot. And if I was the benevolent despot of Round Lake, I would probably prohibit those things at Victorian Landings, because I don't think that's the appropriate place for these short-term rentals. However, I don't represent Victorian Landings only in part. And I have to be mindful of the rights of everyone in the village to operate a legally permitted service. And Airbnbs are legally permitted. And I think that what we did was craft a law, and we haven't enforced this, but I think we crafted a law that would minimize the problems and at the same time offer everybody the same opportunities. And so therefore, I just think that I know it's been a passionate issue for some people, and it's unfortunate, but we can't, as trustees, we can't sit here and carve out little bits and pieces of the village and make special rules for people. So it has to apply to everyone, and I think we did a And I would also add that if we find out in a year or two there's problems with this, we'll probably be back here sitting amending it. But I would hope that with proper enforcement that we can keep problems to a minimum.
Can I just,
I agree 100% that the HOA could address it. I do believe that Victoria Landing is different enough that we would be justified in prohibiting short-term rentals up there. We carve out the village with zoning laws all the time based on, we don't treat everything in the village the same when it comes to zoning. So that's all I got to say about it.
Well, we don't treat everybody the same in terms of zoning, but there's specific areas of zoning that are different. For example, clusters of houses together zone differently than Fred's Farm. But this is a different, I think this is different in that we're applying a law to allow an opportunity for people, regardless of where they are in the village, in RB1, RB2, to do this in the same way. I mean, that's how I feel about it. We're creating something that applies evenly across.
It's a PDD, though, not RB1 or RB2.
I understand.
Any more discussion?
Yes, Dave.
Right?
Yes.
On the agenda. Under new business. Revise the personnel policy to consolidate the way employee health insurance is handled. I would.
Let me read it. That's brief.
I can read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whereas, for the past 19 years, the Village of Brown Lake has paid 75% of the cost of health insurance for its full-time employees, and whereas the village's personnel policy contains the following provisions as the second and third sentences of the health insurance portion of that policy: permanent full-time employees with hire dates prior to January 1st, 2004, 75% for individual or individual plus one. Permanent full-time employees with hire dates after January 1st, 2004, 75% for individual plan and 25% additional cost of coverage for the second person or family member. And whereas the failure to properly deduct employee contributions is the error of the village and not its employees, and retroactive collection of unpaid contributions would constitute a hardship not intended or foreseen by either the village or its employees. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the calculation and payment of health insurance premiums and employee contributions thereto preceding this resolution is hereby ratified and approved, and no retroactive collection of contributions shall be made. And it is further resolved that the village's personnel policy is hereby amended in that the second and third sentences of the health insurance portion of that policy are deleted, and that the section of that policy shall read: permanent full-time employees 75% for their selective health care plan.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any correspondence? No. Approval of minutes.
Make the motion to approve the minutes from the August 16th board meeting.
I guess second. Discussion? Tom?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Approval of abstract.
The motion to approve the abstract in the amount of $69,547.85 to be approved per fund as follows. A fund, $64,354.93. F fund, $4,292.97. G fund, $899.95.
Second. Discussion? Yes. Peggy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Village Attorney?
I have nothing.
I've got a couple quick things. We now have access to DMV records so we can identify latent traffic violators. We just sent our first letter to the owner of a vehicle that blew through a stop sign and stopped bus on the first day of school. We're also investigating the possibility of stop sign cameras that automatically send a $50 fine, no point, to the owner of the offending vehicle. There's a bill in the state senate that would permit this in Nassau County, and we've asked Terry Warner to support this and expand it to the village and town of Malta. We now come to public comment.
I should point out there that the newest school buses have.
Yeah. They did.
Some do, not all.
Not the army, yeah.
Because you got a slight food to it.
Yeah, the one September 6th is happening here, they didn't have one. The one that blew through the stop sign.
They, in Nassau, I was reading the article you sent in Nassau, in that one particular area, they said that 75% of the vehicles flew through the stop signs.
You know, as a former bus driver, that it happens more than you think. And the drivers are very aware of it. And the drivers usually radio in if something happens, that they get a description of the car or a plate number, which you know, most of the time they can do it. And then we would go in and file a form at the end of the day, and that form would be sent to the police. I assume the police would follow up with that or something.
It's nice if they did.
I don't know. Yeah. But it's not like the driver is infinite in terms of, you know, some remediation on an individual incident.
Okay, public comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say, I listened carefully to what the board of records has said about this topic, and I appreciate your consideration. One thing that does trouble me, though, is when you say that you've enacted a law and you need to then find out if there are problems with people back and address them. I'm fairly new to Victorian language, so I wasn't even aware of the issue of short-term rentals when it really began to arise. But there was a meeting here by the zoning board, and I attended that because I was curious. This room was almost full. That's how many people were concerned about it. And the testimony given by people who live next to the rentals there was atrocious. And the mayor was there. He heard it because I asked the zoning board chairman, I said, how does the board find out about this? And all he could say, well, the mayor is there. But if that information is not getting back to you, how can you enact laws that are appropriate for the entire village? End of my comments.
Natalie Barcel, 35 Tony Road. I've been next to the short-term rental. I just want to ask about the amendment that you just passed. I want to make sure I understand it, that the owner has to live here for 9 months.
Yes.
And the last part of your paperwork, I know at one point you had said no one would be grandfathered in, but it looks like the verbiage is now saying if they have a permit, they do not have to abide by the change, or am I misreading that? Yes.
The permits that were issued
Right.
contain a provision that says if the short-term rental law is amended during the term of the permit is subject to those new regulations.
Okay, because I was looking at the last paragraph on what we received in your email for tonight's meeting, and I was reading it, I don't know if I'm reading it wrong, or is the verbiage wrong?
And the term is yearly?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. It looks like I was reading that it said they did not have to abide by any change.
Yeah, who has a
When while their permit is still active.
Yeah, it says, persons holding a permit on the effective date of this local law are not bound by its provisions until such permit is renewed, except for the requirements of paragraph B5C.
So that's what I'm questioning.
Five residency requirements, C. B5C is owners of short-term rentals should keep a written record of their own residency and of their renters, etc. So it doesn't mean that they can't do it. That's what this is saying.
That they can.
That they yes, that they have, if they have a permit, as long as they keep track, that's what this says.
But they have to renew their permit and under the new regulations.
Oh, when the permit is due.
When the permit is not due, but if the permit is 2 years long, and this happened in the first month, and they still have 23 months to do it, depending on.
So on one hand, you're saying that they have to abide by the change, but that last sentence is saying that they don't have to abide by it if they already have a permit until they renew it. So that's my question.
And that provision
Right.
is going to be the binding one, the one that Heidi just read.
The one that says that if the permit is active, they can go out, they don't have to adjust it?
Yes, that's correct,
Okay, so then they don't have to abide by the new law?
except for the record-keeping provision,
Okay, so at one point,
until they renew.
yeah, at one point, I remember the board had said that nobody would be grandfathered in. Once the law was changed, it was changed. That was said at the meeting.
This law grandfathers in existing permits, except for the record-keeping provision.
Okay. Just wanted clarification because it's too far. And I do have a question. When the code enforcer does check a unit to see if everything is fine for them to have a short-term rental, are they bound to go back periodically to check to see on the status? Because I know my neighbor was doing a lot of work in his unit, and I sent numerous emails, and I never got one back from anybody. Because it was sinks that were left in the garage, and then rented in the meantime. And one woman was walking, holding a baby, getting out of a car, and trying to finagle around that. So I had written emails to everyone asking, I thought it was a liability issue, and does the code enforcer go back up to check? Because if something is not up to stuff from day one of the permit, in 2 years, nobody knows about it and nobody checks it. But I never got an answer.
Can somebody circulate to the rest of the board the most up-to-date version of the permit, special use permit? Is that possible for us to have, please? Thank you.
The permits that were issued were all a little different because the circumstances of the applicants were a little different.
Right.
But if there's work that's going to be done in the unit after a permit is done and after a code enforcer is checking, I think that's my opinion, I think that the owner should have a liability to notify the village that there were changes, and then it should be checked again. Because you don't know what they're doing in their unit. It may not be up to code anymore, for safety.
Well, what's the responsibility of the homeowner to inform the village when they're making changes within their home? I mean, I know if I build a porch on the side of my house, I gotta go through you.
Right, but if you're changing the wallpaper, you don't have to. You know, it depends on what you're doing in the house, whether you need.
Right, that's different. So don't you think there's a liability to have sinks in the garage and be renting it out? Sinks, countertops, bathroom sinks, on the floor in the garage. Not a sink, 3 sinks and 2 counters, 2 countertops.
Yeah, you know, possibly, you know, maybe he's selling sinks, I don't know what he's doing there, and he hasn't informed me. I just talked to the owner, and he he will close down at the end of this month for 6 months. And he's been good about it. He's cleaned up his Airbnb ad. He's not.
I know, I watch it. I know.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll look into this thing.
Well, now he's giving them away, so now they're going to be gone. But my point is, all of my emails went unanswered about a liability, which
I don't think
the
I
way
got
it
it.
was today, I've been suing everybody. Village, HOA, everybody. Especially that it was brought to the attention of the village.
I don't think I got an email talking about
Yeah,
something.
you did. I sent it to you. I sent it to you, I sent it to everybody, to the mayor, I sent it to the zoning board, to which I forget his name, I sent it to him, but I never got an answer from anybody. And it wasn't just one email, it was probably about 6.
I do get a lot of emails,
I know you do.
like with
I understand that.
this issue, with license plates and cars.
I
So I may not look at each one as effectively as I should.
I know.
It's a lot of email.
I
Which is
just
good.
think it was a big safety issue.
Junk in houses
I will do every inspection.
If junk in a house is illegal,
Yep.
most of the houses in Malton and stuff would be illegal. Right. Trust me.
Yes. Did you have?
No, she asked the question.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I want to thank the board for being, I know you've been going back and forth as we all that. But I think the only thing I would like to say, I'm disappointed, obviously, in the outcome. You did have it right. When you eliminated the party walls, it was equitable for the village. You're saying, yeah, you can't please everything in the village, you can't. It's hard to do this or that. But in our case, we are a community by itself as a part of the village with party walls. And that's unique. I'm sure you might have a few here, but the uniqueness and the newness of the site should have taken into place. And whoever eliminated, and the reason you eliminated the party walls, you had it. You had it in
We
your
didn't have,
rough
that
draft.
was added.
No, you're right.
I just want to say, we had a law, and it was not supposed to be addressed in Victoria
But
land.
it was there. The
It
thought was there.
It was, the thought was there, but it was not part of the law. We did not eliminate it, we did not add
I
it.
agree. Well, fine. I'm not saying, well, it was there. The thought was there. That would have been the term nowadays in our political arena as equitable. Excuse my Italian background, okay? And I can't pronounce it as well as I should. But to be equitable to the whole village, that term should have stayed there. And that's all I have to say. Other than that, thank you very much. Appreciate the work. And I know it's a thing this way.
Any more? Entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Thank you all. Yes.
It's nice when we have a day.
We're going to take, yeah.
trying to isolate.
Yeah.